All right, well, welcome back to part 3 here. Now, when we're talking about propaganda, I kind of want to define it for you here. I think we use this term a lot today. Oh, well, that's propaganda. She's just spouting her propaganda. Oh, he's got his own propaganda agenda. What do we mean by that? Well, there's a common definition out there that could say that it is the dissemination of information aimed at influencing the opinions or behaviors of a large group of people. That's pretty simple there. So there are a lot of things that can be called propaganda by that definition. Toothpaste commercial could be seen as propaganda because we're trying to get information out to people and change their mind to use that particular toothpaste. And there's kind of a fine line if you were just to stick with that definition between propaganda and promotion. If you look at those, they both begin with PRO. But anyways, the reality here with propaganda, it goes a little bit further. I like this idea here. I'm not a big proponent of Wikipedia. There are other sources out there. You have to be careful what you trust with Wikipedia. But somebody obviously got this from somewhere, and they do a good job with this. A lot of times, propaganda has two areas of concern. Often it presents facts very selectively. So in some ways, it's kind of lying by omission. Not always, but it's selected information for you. Or it encourages loaded messages, meaning it's giving you a lot of the truth. It's very loaded, full of one side of the truth that will move you emotionally rather than connecting with you on a rational level. And so really that's a difference between true journalism and then propaganda. True journalism is really trying to present, let's say there were two sides of an issue. It's going to present what this side says, and it's going to present what this side says. And then it's going to try to work through them together so that you at home can make your decision. Not to promote Fox News, but their whole approach in name is fair and balanced. We report the facts. You decide. I mean, really, that at the core of it is what journalism should be. It shouldn't be trying to force or influence or try to control your emotions on one issue. Now, we live in a world where that's nearly impossible. It doesn't matter what newspaper you look at or what TV show you watch or even what movies you watch. You're going to have somebody's point of view. There are some people who really try hard at this, and there are others who don't. So, when it comes to movies like Casablanca, we have to ask ourselves, does it really fall into the category of propaganda? Well, take a look, if you haven't already, at the digital history link that I had for you. And they do a good job of setting up for you on the first page about World War II and where Casablanca was set and kind of a little synopsis for you. Hopefully all of you have watched this movie by now, so this should be just a good recap for you. And then, if you will, click on that Bureau of Motion Pictures report. And that's actually going to take you to a link that has the full report written by the Bureau of Motion Pictures about why this movie was a good movie that supports a war effort. In fact, you can see they kind of go over Casablanca's 95 minutes. It's made by Warner Brothers, came out in 1943, etc. But then we can look down and say, just underneath the poster, it says, from the standpoint of the War Information Program, Casablanca is a very good picture about the enemy, those whose lives the enemy has wrecked, and those undergoing agents who fight him unremittently on his own ground. The war content is dramatically effective. Many excellent points are scored. And then they go on to list 7 excellent points of why this movie fits the Office of War Information's categories of a movie that supports the war effort. If you haven't done so already, think back to the movie. Think back to who Rick was in Casablanca. He was kind of your neutral man. As long as he was making money and happy and able to just run his business, no big deal. He didn't care which side, or it appeared he didn't care which side won. And then you have a bunch of refugees in the city who are trying to get away from the war, and we hear about how horrible it is. And then you have a lot of people in town, such as Captain Renault, who really is out for himself as well, but he's going to go with the side that looks like it might be winning, and that just happens to be the Nazis at that point. Because remember, they'd taken over France, and they had really moved into North Africa. And so you have interesting characters there. All of them represent an archetype for this era. America being somewhat neutral, France being somewhat, they kind of bent over for the Nazis to come in. Then you got all these refugees that are caught in between, the Russians that are moving in, and really at the time only Great Britain that was standing up against them. And so it's pretty interesting to see how a lot of these scenes support these archetypes and these theories of people who are caught in this horrible war. If you look at on the website there, some of the points that they bring out, obviously Victor Laszlo, the Czech patriot, is a fantastic character, somebody who is fighting fascism and standing for truth. And I love the scene where the German men are encouraging a band to play some patriotic German song, and then Laszlo goes over and they're singing themselves. Laszlo goes over to the band and asks them to play the French national anthem, and of course that just rallies the troops. Everyone stands and sings to the top of their lungs, and the Germans are shut up, and they actually shut down the place because they feel insulted by it. That's very emotional. That is a wonderful scene, and it connects with us. And let's put ourselves back in 1941-42. We're watching this movie. We're not really sure if we want to get involved in the war. We see how mean and nasty the Germans are. We see these poor people that are stuck in this horrible little town, representative of any little town that someone was stuck in Europe. And we see the struggle, and we see the human nature of people really hating the war, and we begin to connect emotionally to it. I wouldn't be surprised that after this movie that many men didn't run down to the recruiter's office and sign up and say, "Sign me up. I want to go fight those nasty Nazis." So take a look at some of the other points that they say on the digital history, especially in regards to the report that was written up. The last one is very interesting, number 7. The film presents a good portrayal of a typical Nazi, and the arrogant Major Strasser, with his contempt for anything not German, his disregard for human life and dignity, his determination that all people shall bow one day to the Third Reich, we get the picture of the Nazi outlook. These are the kind of men who would enslave the world. And these are the kind of men we need to stand up against. And so, really, that's why we say Casablanca is a piece of propaganda. It's not that it's just promoting a point of view. I mean, there's plenty of movies that are made nowadays that have an agenda and a point of view, but I don't know if we can necessarily label them as propaganda. But we know by looking at the facts and history that there was a concerted effort to encourage movies to be made that would encourage and influence people to go out and get behind the war effort. And every point on that OWI list is almost backed up by this movie Casablanca. So that's why we say it's propaganda. Now let's take a quick break, and I'll come back in the last section and we'll finish up this thought. Thank you.